$1 SMMA versus $1 million SMMA. Back when I started Atlas Digital, I was at a 9-to-5, and I was actually working for Cisco, the billion-dollar family here in Colorado. I remember meeting my business partner or ex-business partner, Marcos, at a meetup. Marcos was like, yo, Joel, you know a lot about marketing. And I was like, yeah, I know about funnels, ads, copywriting. He was like, yeah, I'm making $5,000 with my SMMA. And I remember like my mind just like exploded. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, you mean to tell me that you are making $5,000 a month with your SMMA? Well, I have to work every single day in a 9-to-5. And he was like, yeah. And by the way, side note, his company, his agency was called socialmediamarketing.com. He had that domain, that website, and it was ugly. Like it was probably the ugliest website you have ever seen. It looked like a literal scam. And I remember being like, yo, Marcos, I will fix up this website for you for free. We ended up after that starting to build a relationship. We went out to get coffee, and he was like, Joel, if you come join me, we'll go 50-50. And if we hit 10K a month, you quit your job. And I said, you've got a deal. At that point, I was scared to quit my 9-to-5. I had already failed 2 businesses before that. I was not at a stage where I was like, I'm going to quit my 9-to-5 to go start an agency. But when Marcos gave me that ultimatum of like, hey, we hit 10K a month, you quit, it just lit this feeling inside of me of wanting to go out and build something bigger and create something greater than myself. So when he said that, I said, sure, let's do it. I'm all in. And here's what happened next. Over a period of about 30 days, we went from 5K a month to 10K. And I was like, holy crap, I have to quit my job. Which, by the way, looking back, it would have been way riskier to stay at that 9-to-5 than to actually go out and pursue my dreams. And I wouldn't be here making this video for you guys if I never quit that job. And I remember walking in, said, hey guys, I'm going to quit my 9-to-5. Said, I'll stay here for another 2 weeks if you need me, but I'm out. And what ended up happening is within like 2 weeks, we went back down to like 3K a month. I don't even know how. And then now after expenses, we're left with $1,000 each. And I'm like, fuck, I went from 6-figure salary, getting massages every single Wednesday, getting catered Chipotle and all this other food every single day, and going out and meeting powerful people working for a billionaire, to making $1,000 a month. And I was like, what did I just do? What did I just get myself into? That was my first like punch in the face. I think that really brings me to lesson number 1. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to go all in. And there's going to be moments where you question everything and doubt if this is even possible, and doubt if you are even meant to go out and accomplish great things. And you're going to have to keep leaning in. And at this point, we're getting all different kinds of clients, and we're doing everything. We're doing websites, we're doing ads, we're doing graphic design, we're doing everything for everyone. And the main way that we're getting clients is through going to this local networking group called BNI. You have essentially one of each kind of business at this networking group. Marcos would essentially go and pitch our agency to all these people. And I remember thinking like, this is not going to work, because even though we hit 10K a month, as soon as they pay you, you don't get that again. We need something reoccurring. And I realized if we don't have something reoccurring where they're paying us every single month, we're going to go back to zero every single month. And that's when we came up with this idea of running ads for local businesses. We started pitching free trials. This really taught me mistake number 2, because we got gluten-free bakery as a client. We got a roofer as a client. We got a chiropractor as a client. We got a dentist as a client. And we told them, hey, we're going to run your ads for 30 days. After the 30 days, you're going to pay us $1,500 a month if you want to keep going. Only 2 remained. Chiropractor and, funny enough, the bakery. The bakery paid us like $200 a month. And Dr. Topher said to me, Joel, I'll only do it if you run both my ads and my wife's ads, because they had 2 separate practices, one in like South Boulder, one in North Boulder, Colorado. So we said, sure, we'll do it 100%. Even though we said we're going to focus on ads, we still had some random clients here and there. Actually, the billionaire family that I used to work for was paying us $500 a month to just manage their website. And they paid us for a few years, which I'm super grateful for, until eventually they were like, Joel, we're not going to keep paying you the $500 a month. You're not really doing anything. I was like, okay, fair enough. That being said, I had this genius idea, and I was like, yo, Marcos, let's go after an untapped niche. This is going to be the game changer. This is going to take us to 30K a month. And back then, I remember telling myself, if I had 20 to 30K a month, I am set for life. But we made a terrible decision, because guess what? Rock climbing gyms don't actually need more members. Most cities only have like 1 or 2 rock climbing gyms. And if you want to go rock climb, all you do is you go on Google, you look up rock climbing gyms near me, and there's only 1 or 2 options. And that's it. That lesson was really, really powerful, which is lesson number 2. You have to follow a proven path. We try to recreate the wheel, when one of the benefits of going into a business model like SMMA is that the path has been laid out, and you don't have to start over from scratch. All you have to do is go into proven niches with a proven strategy and figure out how to be better or different. And what's even worse, we spent maybe 2 or 3 months going after rock climbing gyms, and we kept hitting a wall, and we would spend all of our time and energy doing things that wouldn't drive the needle forward. I wasted so much time on shit that wouldn't actually drive the business forward. The next lesson is that as a beginner, it's so scary to actually do the things that are the hardest. It's scary to pick up the phone and cold call. It's scary to do the cold email and potentially get rejected. So what do? You end up filling up your calendar and filling up your time doing all these things that give you the illusion of progress, but are actually holding you back from achieving the thing that it is that you want. So it's not that you don't take action, it's that you take action on the wrong things. So this time I told Marcos, why don't we write on this whiteboard in our kitchen this one rule? And we wrote, is this getting me closer to a sale? If the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, ask yourself what will. That was one of the big shifts that took us from about 10K a month to about 30K a month. Even though we were still all over the place with our niche and we were working with all these kinds of businesses, and for the most part we were running ads for them, at the very least we were focusing our energy on income generating activities that, even though they were scary, even though they were uncomfortable, they were getting us closer to reaching our goal. At this point, we started focusing on the things that actually mattered. We started focusing on the right things. We started taking action on things that would move the needle forward by setting and closing appointments. And we also did something important. We said, you know what? Rock climbing gyms isn't going to work. So at this point, we're like, okay, well, Dr. Hillary, Dr. Topher, chiropractor, seem to be getting great results. Why don't we go after medical? So we started going after dentists, chiropractors, pain management clinics. And what happened is we scaled to 30K a month. So at this point, we were meeting with Dr. Topher and Dr. Hillary every single week to brainstorm how we could make our product better. Something that we decided to do was actually bring them on as our first strategic partner, where we would essentially lower their fee, and we ended up lowering it to $1,000 a month, from $1,500 to $1,000, in exchange for them helping us on getting to know the medical world. And by the way, that's another lesson. Like, be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. Talk to your clients, talk to your prospects, ask them, how can we be better together? So it's me, it's Marcos, and a few VAs, and things start to get extremely overwhelming. And I'm sure you guys have had this feeling where you get this text or an email from a client and they cancel. It's almost like your world stops. And you start to ask yourself, like, am I a scammer? Do I even know what I'm doing? Am I meant to be an entrepreneur? Am I meant for greatness? And all of the doubt starts to creep in. All of the fears start to get really heightened. And I remember one of our clients canceled on us, and we had made this lady $40,000. It was a 20x ROI her first month, and she still canceled. It almost felt like a personal attack on me. It felt so heavy. It felt like they were saying, no, you're not enough, Joel. Which, by the way, on a side note, we were helping some of our other clients get great results. And I think as entrepreneurs, we tend to take the negative and we ignore all the positive. We ignore all of our accomplishments. Anyways, we lost that client. I just remember things started to get really, really hard. I started to feel really overwhelmed. Like, I started to really question myself. More clients started dropping off. We started to dip. We were at like 30K a month, 40K, and then we started going down to like 20K. I think at our lowest, we hit $18,000. This is also when I almost gave up on my dreams. I was essentially lying to myself because deep down, I wanted the dream of being an entrepreneur, but I wasn't willing to go through the sacrifice, through the risk, through the challenge, through the pain, through the struggle that it takes to get there. You have to be willing to make the sacrifices, take the risks, face the fears that most people in this world never will. And at this point, I applied for this job at Moonshot Adventures, and I remember getting an email back, and I got rejected. And I remember taking a really hard look at myself and being honest with myself, because at that point I had been lying to myself. I told myself, yeah, I want success, I want all these things, but I wasn't actually willing to go through the challenge, through the pain, through the chaos that it takes to get there. And I had that honest conversation with myself, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, Joel, you're a liar. You say you want success, but you're not willing to do the things that people need to do to be successful. You know what's even crazier? At this point, we were making money, yet it felt even harder. Sometimes in business and entrepreneurship, the hardest moments are when you're actually making money, when there's a lot of pressure, when there's a lot on the line, when you're questioning who you are and who you want to become. So at this moment was the moment I went all in and I burned the boats, which is the next lesson. You want to be successful, you got to go all in. You cannot be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And most importantly, you cannot lie to yourself about wanting the rewards of success unless you're willing to face your fears and look at yourself in the mirror and see yourself for who you really are. And this was a pivotal point for me. This was when I really started to see growth. And a lot of entrepreneurs talk about mindset, but that's where it really boils down. It's the foundation. It's the truth. It's the first principle. If you're not all in, you're going to get destroyed by everyone else who is. It was just wild. We were at 50K a month, and I was like, how do we scale this thing to 100K a month? It finally felt real. A lot of people, when I say 100K a month, it feels so far away. But you have to keep in mind There was a point in my life where I thought 20K a month was the ceiling. I truly believed from the bottom of my heart that 20K a month was the end goal. And now, if I make 50K a month, my expenses on average are about $380,000 a month. So if I make 50, I'm losing $330,000. One of the other things that happened is I started going to therapy. I started to come to terms with who I am, come to terms with the darkness that lived inside of me. And when I tell people business is hard, it's not about hard work. It's more about the difficulty of facing yourself, all of your insecurities, all of your fears. Growing up as someone that continually got bullied, for context, to the point where at one point my teacher put every single student that was making fun of me, which was about 8 people, pretty much the whole class, and had every single person apologize. And I felt so humiliated. It was terrible. It was even worse. The fact that they did that when I knew deep down they weren't sorry was extremely humiliating. So when you get a cold email response that tells you to fuck off, it triggers that inner child. It triggers that little kid in that classroom. And everyone's fears are different. I didn't grow up poor. I had a good family. That was not my fear. Maybe your fear is you can't provide for your family. Maybe your fear is that, your dad left you when you were young. Maybe your fear is, I don't know. Everyone's fear is different. But I think to be successful, you have to come to terms with yourself and face those fears. And I think when I say business is hard, that's what I mean. At this point, 100K a month feels possible. Something else starts to happen. It just starts to get really chaotic from like a system standpoint. We started to build systems. We started to build SOPs. We started to hire a team. This is when I learned the lesson of firing yourself. You want to go from 50K a month to 100K a month in SMMA. It comes down to having leverage. This is also when we started to cold email 500 prospects a day. And from there on, with cold email, we added about an extra 15K a month in revenue. We were at about $65,000 a month. I asked myself, how do we take this thing to 100K a month? Now I went to this one event, J.R. Revis's event. Some of you guys know J.R. Revis. He asked everyone, who here is at 10K a month? Some people raise their hand. Who here is at 30K a month? Smaller group raise their hand. Then who here is at 50K a month? And I was the only one that raised their hand. So again, like thinking about like comparing ourselves to entrepreneurs, we tend to be so fucking hard on ourselves, including me. Like I'm talking from personal experience here. I beat myself down, comparing myself to this day to people that are farther and farther ahead. So this message is for me as much as it is for you. How do you look at yourself and be grateful for who you are while you also strive for more and you're never satisfied? How do you balance those two things? It's another big lesson for you guys. That's one that I'm still trying to learn. Ooh, by the way, I forgot this. I can't believe I almost forgot this. At 50K a month, before we hit 65K a month, I also told Marcos, yo, we have to sign a contract with ourselves that states we are not allowed to pivot niches ever again. And we have to stick to one niche for the next 6 to 12 months. I forget if it was 6 or 12. And if we fuck it up, we're ending the business. We're all in or all out. So at around 50K a month, one of the other big tweaks is we also said, you know what? We're not going to just work with medical. We're going to niche down, only work with chiropractors. Again, fast forward to 65K a month. I'm at this event with J.R. Revis and I meet Mark Holter. I remember talking to him and I'm like, yo, Mark, how are you getting clients? He's like, oh, I just run paid ads. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I run paid ads. The chiropractors come to me. I'm like, the chiropractors go to you? You mean you're not going to them? You're not doing cold email? Not cold calling? He's like, yeah, they come to me, paid ads. I'm like, what the fuck? You're running paid ads? He's like, yeah, I'm getting about 3 appointments a day. And the crazy part is he had no team. It was like just him. I remember making a trade and I was like, Mark, I'll trade you everything that I know, all my systems, if you just help me with the ads. And I had a bigger agency than him at the time, so he was interested. And I knew I needed this because, again, I began to think in terms of leverage, in terms of scale. He said, sure, let's do it. And then he backed down. So I called him every single day for like 2 weeks. And eventually I convinced him to run our ads. And at this point, we had a team in place. We had systems in place. We had a proven niche, a strong referral program. We had all this infrastructure in place. And remember, this took time. This did not happen overnight. We were actually stuck at about 50 to 65K a month for a whole year before we scaled, building all these things out. And then as soon as we lit the fire with paid ads, we ended up hitting $250,000 a month in 6 months. And this taught me the power of the popcorn effect. There's a delay between the moment you take an action and when you see the result of that action. It doesn't happen immediately. You might be working hard for years before you finally pop off and have that hockey stick growth. We were stuck at that mark for months before we saw any progress. I'll leave you guys with these 2 things. Number 1, we stood out. We were the first agency in the chiropractic space to offer a guarantee. So we innovated. We asked ourselves, how can we go into a proven niche and be better or be different? Everyone else at that point was saying, hey, I'll help you get leads. We came in and we said, I'll guarantee to get you 50 leads in 30 days, or we'll give you a full refund, plus we'll send you a check for $1,000. We were the first to do it. Then after that, we came out with the patients that prepay and show up system. First agency to get patients to prepay for their appointments. We released spinal decompression patients on demand. Then after that, pay per show. Then after that, we guaranteed 20 patients in the door that showed up in 60 days or your money back. We were always asking ourselves, How can we be better, or how can we be different? How can we take the proven frameworks that have already been laid out for us in a proven path and innovate on them? You guys want to be entrepreneurs? You're going to have to innovate. And then here's the final ingredient. Everyone always gives me shit for, Joel, you just care about setting and closing appointments. You don't care about client results. Guys, I fought for my clients harder than I even fought for myself. I cared so much that it would give me panic attacks when my clients left. I managed 50 clients by myself. I ran every single one of their ads. I checked them 3 times a week. Tweak them myself because I was too afraid to let them go. So the last lesson that I'm going to share with you, you want to get to 7 figures, you better have a good fucking product and service. You want to know how much I cared about my clients, even when I was making $250K a month, and I knew that I was on my way out of Atlas Digital because my partnership did not work out and we wanted different things. I wanted to keep scaling. Marcos just wanted a lifestyle business and we had a different vision. And by the way, that's another lesson. If you're going to partner up with someone, make sure that you have the same vision for what you want in your lives. That's going to be the biggest crash of any business relationship if you guys are not aligned on the vision. But Marcos wanted to just live a good life, not scale. I wanted to build an empire. I remember I'm on my way out and there's a chiropractor named Dr. Taylor Frederick. And Dr. Taylor, I promised him, I gave him my word that I would take every single check-in call. I would be there every step of the way. I would always be his account manager. Even when we were making $300K a month, even when I had multiple account managers, even when we had all this infrastructure in place, I gave him my word. So every time he would text me or call me, I would pick up or text him back. And by the way, there are some things that are unscalable, but one of my philosophies is always do the unscalable for as long as fucking possible and whenever you can. At this point, I can't get back to every single client inside of agency, but whenever I can do it, I do the unscalable. You guys have to have a good product. You have to get your clients amazing results and you have to really care. And I think I'm going to triple down. You have to go out and get clients before you can even care about them. You have to focus on setting and closing appointments. And by the way, most people are so afraid to set and close appointments because it'll bring out all their fears, all their insecurities that they never do, which is why I say set and close appointments, set and close appointments. I don't have to teach you guys how to care for your clients. Most of you guys actually do. And if you don't, you're not going to succeed in this business or really in any business long term. If you spread it out over a long enough time horizon, you're going to fail if you don't care about your clients. So that's how we scaled to $1 million.